Right, ole ole, and the party is not over there. I am absolutely delighted to announce that we have a very, very special guest joining us today. That is, of course, the visionary director herself, and one of my favorites, Gurinder Chadha. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please.
Oh, it's a bit cold, isn't it? Not just like Blackpool.
Yes, I know. Well, where are the bargees? We need the
How
bargees. Well, we need the bargees, I think, to top that up, Gurinder. So that's, I don't know.
Is it good? Did it work?
Woo!
It's 19 years old now, that film.
Well, yeah, 20 years. Such a big milestone next year, Gurinder. I mean, I think it's really wonderful, and it's wonderful to have you here with us today at Wembley Park. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So now, I mean, Gurinder, Bend It Like Beckham, it needs no introduction. I mean, it is an iconic film which has truly stood the test of time, and I think it catapulted you to a zenith of sorts, as well as a filmmaker. So how much does success, in a way, become a point of reference for you as a storyteller, and perhaps thereby increasing audience expectations from you as well?
Well, I think when you come from the background that I come from, it was very important for me to make a film about London and Londoners who are like me, you know, and so what's been wonderful is that the film has been appreciated for 19 years by people who look like the people in the film, but at the same time all over the world.
Absolutely.
You know, there's always somewhere in the world that the film's being watched or screened.
Absolutely, very true. In fact, when we had put out the post as well that this Q&A was happening, I think the amount of response we had, not only from people in Britain, but across the globe, I think just goes to show what an iconic film it is. So I think kudos goes to you, Paul, and the entire team of the film. So thank you so much for that. So just speaking a bit more, Gurinder, about yourself. I mean, you're an Indian born in Kenya, now living in England. So I guess how has that influenced you know, the stories about cross cultures and integration you frequently choose to narrate?
Oh, well, it's everything's about who you are, your identity, what you emotionally connect with. You know, as a director, all that comes out in your work, and so there's, you know, there are sadly so few people who are from my background making films. It means that there's very few of these kind of stories that go out there, particularly from a female perspective. And so, you know, I mean, I hoped that when I made the film it would encourage other women in particular, other people, different backgrounds, to think about telling their own stories, you know.
Absolutely.
And we've had a few, but not that many, you know.
Yeah, why do you think that is the case, though? And do you think that's changing now, especially given this, even in Hindi cinema, we're seeing this whole, I don't want to use the word female-centric, but more very stories revolving around women taking center stage now. So that's all changing. So do you think it's changing now as well a little bit?
I think a little bit, but very, very slowly. I mean, Bend It Like Beckham, as we said, came out 19 years ago, made a load of money for the British film industry, and you'd have thought that people would have gone, oh, we should do more like that, you know.
Right.
But sadly, that hasn't happened, you know. And obviously, last year I made Blinded by the Light,
which was amazing. A huge round of applause for Blinded by the Light. It was incredible. I saw it at the press screening and I was in complete awe of it. So.
Well, it was similar to this in a way.
Yes.
I thought enough time had passed to do something different.
Yeah.
But not enough. Yeah, but sadly, there's just not enough people telling those stories. But I think it's because it's hard, because people don't necessarily think films that feature women are commercial.
Yeah.
Even though we've proved them wrong time and time again.
But I think when making a film like BILB, like Bend It Like Beckham, where sports is a very important aspect, but it also touches on several societal topics as well, how challenging is it for you as a filmmaker to balance both of these aspects together and make it almost like a marriage of two styles together?
Well, hopefully it's organic. For me, it's organic because it's who you are. Yeah. I was thrilled, you know, during the Women's World Cup and America, you know, were the champions, when a lot of the players, when they were interviewed, particularly in America, they all said they became football players after watching the film.
Wow.
So that impact is enormous. And even now, you know, the impact because people who watched it now have kids who watch it.
Right.
And even me, when I made the film, I was very much Jess, you know.
Yes.
And now I'm like Jess's mum.
I was gonna literally say, oh my god, you know what? I was actually gonna say, I guess you kind of see yourself now as Mrs. Bamra a lot as well. I mean, I'm sure your daughter here can sort of vouch.
Yeah,
I can see her laughing at the back there. Hello.
Stand up, Kimmy. Come here.
Hi.
Kimmy will tell you what I say all the time. Kimmy.
Oh, this is so lovely. Welcome.
Tell me in the film, who do you think I most resemble? Whom I like most?
The mum.
Yeah, I know. And what do I say in Punjabi that the mum says?
Dejatu.
And what else?
Kasmanu cow.
So all the those are all Punjabi swear words that the mum says.
That is amazing.
So I've turned into that with you, haven't I?
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad. It was so lovely to hear that as well. But I think, you know, Gurinder, I think it's quite wonderful as well to see this bond that Jess has with Mr. Bamra. You know, I think that is definitely one of my highlights of the film. I mean, in a way, it breaks the stereotype of every patriarchal father or figure in every Indian household. So to what extent is that reflective of your bond, your actual bond with your father?
Well, 2 years before I made the film, my dad suddenly died in an accident.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was really sad, very, very shocking. Although I'd already started working on the script and was trying to get the film made, you know, he never got to see it. But now when I look back, you know, I always know that when I was making the film, I was still grieving for him. So it's very much a father-daughter film in that respect. And it's very much about a daughter sort of grieving for her dad, and a lot of Mr. Bumra's dialogues are totally my dad's dialogue. Oh yeah, everything Mr. Bumra says, it's sort of like my dad. And also my mum was obsessed with making sure I could cook Indian food. That was her marker for success.
Right.
Whereas my dad always was trying to encourage me. You know, he was adamant that, you know, we went to university, we stood on our own 2 feet. He was very much a feminist and kind of encouraged me to break the rules. And you know, when I said I wanted to be a journalist, he was really happy that I was trying to represent my community and all that. So my dad was very much. It really is the dad's film, even though people think it's the girls. It's
and the
actually
football, there's a lot more to it, right?
It's actually become the dad's film, really.
And I think on that note as well, I just want to let's give a round of applause as well for Gurinder's father and to all the fathers out there who are so supportive of their children in pursuing their dreams. I think it's just such a beautiful tribute to that as well. But I think also I wanted to talk a bit more about, again, the societal subjects, as I mentioned. You know, I feel racism is a very, very important topic which you talk about. I mean, that scene where, you know, Jess gets abused on the pitch as well. It still pierces my heart even now. And it's just really sad as well that even recently in the whole football Euros, things that happened, the Euros as well, you know, it was quite sad to see that racism is still very, very prevalent in our society, and I think it was very disturbing to even watch on social media. But I think for you as a filmmaker, I mean, can cinema necessarily act as a catalyst towards implementing a social change of some kind?
Absolutely. I mean, yes, Jess gets called a packy, fine, but my God, look at the reaction to what happened with our England team. I mean, the way the majority of the nation came out in support of them.
Yes.
And were vociferously vocal about being anti-racist. I mean, that just completely was emotionally fulfilling for me to see that, you know, because it's not enough just to be, you know, anti-racist. You've got to be out and be, you know, vocal about it. And I think that's kind of, you know, what we're seeing now, you know, and people are saying, well, that's not the country I want. This is the country I want.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
not the kind of English person I want to be. That's the kind of English person I want to be. And I think Bend It Like Beckham sort of started spearheading that.
Yes, it did.
You know,
it
back
did.
then.
I mean, just even the thought of an Indian girl playing football, I think back in the day, it was like, wow, it was such a novel concept as well. And I think that itself is a huge testament. But I think even focusing a bit more about your characters as well, especially the female characters in your films, they're very strong. I mean, whether it is a Lolita in Pride and Prejudice or a Jess and Jules, they are very, they conquer their inner fears and, you know, they fight their inner insecurities as well and make those dreams work. So how do you, as a director, make these characters seem so authentic on screen? I mean, can you recount a time in your life where you really, really had to fight to make your dream work as well?
I don't think there's ever been a time in my life when I've been timid. So, you know, I mean, and I don't know a lot of women that are timid.
Right.
Most of the women in my family, you know, are quite volatile, and so I think it's a fallacy, this idea that as women we're quite timid, you know.
Very true.
And I think that, that, you know, when you start writing characters true to life, women are quite feisty in real life. You know, we're mothers, we're warriors, we fight for our families, you know, we fight for our rights, we fight all the time. It's second nature to us. And so I think that if you give women a chance to tell those stories, then naturally those are the kind of characters that are going to come up.
Oh, absolutely. I think I second that and vouch for that completely. But I think from the onset of making a film, I mean, do you decide a particular angle or objective beforehand? I mean, and how do you intend on sort of emphasizing and conveying that particular subject as well?
Well, I think I'm always looking for authenticity, and I'm always looking to see how can I appeal to the most people possible around the world while remaining culturally specific and truthful.
Right.
I look at those two things, and then within that, does the story have legs?
Uh-huh.
You know, can it? What I like to do is make you think you're watching one story, and then along the way twist and turn it, so you don't realise that you're actually watching something else.
Right.
And that's what I like to do, and that's why people think this film is about football and girls, and actually it's about racism and one generation trying to come to terms with what they went through, and another generation trying to help that generation heal and move forward. Mm-hmm. That's actually what the film's about. But most people think it's a comedy about football.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's true. And I think even just watching the film today and, you know, earlier on as well, I thought there's a really interesting similarity between Mrs. Bamra and Jules's mum. I feel like there's actually that sort of, that overprotectiveness and that sort of helicopterness and, okay, strictness, chitters is different. Okay, that is something which we have. But I think except for that, there's quite a few similarities
But that was
between
the
them.
point, that both mothers had very strong ideas of what they wanted from their daughters, which is true of all cultures.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a universal mom thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
true that. In terms of like Bhaji on the Beach as well, the film that you made earlier to this, which was actually a lot more serious in terms of the subjects that they convey, and it was told more seriously too. So I guess comedy must have been quite a conscious decision then for you to kind of...
No, Bhaji's quite funny as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you
of
know,
course.
yeah.
We all remember the coffee being thrown on the kurta. We all remember that scene from the seaside.
And the
Hi, Dom! Yes.
yeah, I think that comedy is a fantastic way to entertain and inform.
Right.
So I think I love the use of comedy mixed with, you know, home truths and a bit of politics, entertainment, music.
Mm-hmm.
All these things come together for me.
Right. And I presume as well that's probably the sort of themes you'd like to carry forward as well in your future works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. I mean, I'm doing I've got a very big movie at the moment that I'm just working on, which has it's a big action film with a female lead.
That
So
is incredible.
I'm excited about that. That'll be announced soon. And I'm doing a lovely animation musical as well. That will be announced soon. And another Christmas movie that I've written
Oh, wow.
with an Asian twist.
That is wonderful. We've never had that before, so
No.
that's a huge, amazing.
I
That's
love
wonderful.
Christmas as well,
Yeah,
so
same. We kind of missed it during lockdown, actually. We kind of missed going on Oxford
Yeah.
Street and all of that, so
Yeah.
I relate with that so much as well. But I think on a final note, Gurinder, before I think I'll open it up to the audience, I think you've worked with some of the most amazing actors that we have in Bollywood and in Hindi cinema generally, Indian cinema generally as well. You've worked with Shabana Azmi, you've worked with Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. When are you working next with Deepika Padukone?
do you know, I met Deepika actually.
Yes.
And we talked, yeah. I think you just have, I think lockdown has, you know, put a scupper on things. So we've lost a couple of years, really. I met her just before lockdown.
Yes, we saw the selfies and I got
Yeah.
really excited. I was like, when are you making a film with her?
Yeah, we met just before and then lockdown happened. But there's a couple of things in the works, you know, so let's see, you know. And I'm good friends with Priyanka, so hopefully, you know, I love to work with these women. They're so strident and powerful, and
Yes,
we
yes.
just have to find the right projects, you know.
It would be a complete powerhouse of a film, and I think it would truly bend it like Bollywood. I think that's the best way we can sort of summarize that, but that would be wonderful. But on that note, a huge round of applause for
Thank
Gurinder
you.
Chadha. Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank
Gurinder,
you
for
for
joining us.
braving the cold.